This is a video where we're going to talk in depth about wrists, shoulder, and spine in the crawl. We'll first start talking about the wrists. When we're thinking about our wrists and our hand on the ground in any crawling variants, or even when we're climbing, we want to think of our wrist exactly like we think about our ankle. So when my ankle is on the ground, we want to be loaded primarily on the outside, and we want that pressure to funnel from the outside and stay on the outside as we go out to in. So the same with my hand. When my hand is on the ground, I want a little bit of a space between my thumb and my index finger. This is going to be the arch of my hand, so to speak, and I've got my two bones of my wrists. I don't want my inside wrist bone to ever start playing low. That's going to create some pain on the top of my hand right at the front of this wrist. So if you ever get any wrist pain or thumb joint pain, it's because your pressure is funneling down and in. That means your thumb, your index, and the inside bicep head, front of your shoulder, and pec is taking this load. We want the load to be distributed just like our leg on the outside of our foot, lateral calf, outside hamstring, back of our glute, and up the back of our spine. When our hand is on the ground, we want it funneling from the outside of my hand to the outside of my wrist, tricep, back of my shoulder, and lat. This allows me to connect my wrist to my spine and my lat. So I'm loading with the back side of my body, not the front side of my body. When we're moving ourselves forward, we think about our wrist just like we think about our hand, where we're loading from the outside and everything is slowly rolling to the inside, but I'm never letting that inside movement collapse and load on the inside. So I'm staying on the outside blade of my wrist. Inside wrist bone stays high as I come around for my crawling step. Now it's difficult to do that with my hand and my wrist if my shoulder isn't contributing in this. So just like we think about our hip, when I take a loading step, my hip pulls back. When my hand touches the ground, I want my shoulder to load back. It's going to load back and have a slight spinal curve, so I'm going to feel like a lat pull down. If you ever do any of our single arm lat pull downs where we feel a big contraction on this lat, as we pull it and open this way, this is the same position that we want for our crawling. I feel this shoulder pull down. As this shoulder pulls down, it's going to funnel energy to the outside, backside of my wrist and hand. So when I take a crawling step, I think about grabbing that energy from the outside, pulling my shoulder down, and naturally as I go to load this other side, I'm going to have the ability to stay high within this. Now that can be a little bit difficult to learn when we first start. To really have a strong hand to load pressure on the outside and find it in our shoulder. That's why we do a bunch of different versions. We do baby crawling, jaguar, bear, lizard. So there's easy versions of crawling and there's harder versions of crawling. The best way we can learn this wrist and shoulder movement is to slow down our crawl, learning the baby, transferring that to the jaguar, bear, etc., etc. So as we are learning and we're spending time on the ground, our hands and wrists can be the first thing that tap out. They can get fatigued and we can stop this outside loading pressure and find ourselves collapsing and make it very difficult. Just like when we're learning on our feet and ankles can be the first thing that give out for us, our calves especially. So if you do find pain happens at your wrist or at your hand when you're crawling, know that you have options for a different loading style of your hand. The common way is just hands on the ground. And we're always going to want that middle finger pointed straight ahead, but we have some different options. My favorite one is monkey knuckles, where I go half knuckles and a thumb, half knuckles and a thumb. Notice when I do this monkey knuckle that it's automatically going to set this wrist to go high and this pocket, this nice soft pocket of my elbow to pull back. So I'm pulling into my shoulders. This is a little bit difficult. Another option is just to go straight fists into the ground. Fists into the ground. When you are doing fists in the ground, we want to do a little pull up of our pinkies, driving our pinky and wrist into this, that's going to give us access to this backside here. So options, we got flat hands, monkey knuckles, and even wrists for you. All of these are going to have a different option for your hands as you begin getting into crawling and feeling your spine and your shoulders assist in this movement here. Last note about this shoulder action, the biggest contributor or thing that it will help you feel this shoulder action is thinking about taking your large skull head and pulling it over the one side that's loading. Pulling your head over is going to make you want to pull your same side shoulder down to create space for your head to move. And when you pull your shoulder down, you'll find that nice lat squeeze. So we find that nice lat squeeze in our head that pulls to one side. And then as I go to take my crawling step, I'm going to think about my head moving over, and that's naturally going to help me pull that shoulder down so I can find that lat squeeze. Head moves to one side, head moves to the other, feel a nice shoulder squeeze this way. We want it to feel like we're doing alternating lat pull downs, big rows. Our upper body is really contributing, super strong shoulders to protect and help our hands as we load. As we are learning how to crawl, putting pressure on our wrists, knees, our hips, eventually you're going to get really good at distributing that pressure over the entire backside, using your hips to drive you forward and your wrists and your shoulders to help you out. If you feel like your wrists and your shoulders are doing too much work, slowly bring that pressure to the backside, just like we do in our groundwork movement, able to pull our hands off. So when we're crawling and you understand how to use your hips to propel and load you forward, your wrists can be contributors assisting in this forward movement, not taking all the pressure of your weight. So as you are crawling, make sure your hips are loading, the back of your shoulders loading, your spinal erectors are loading, and they're creating one whole piece of your body to where there's an even distribution between your hips and your hands, and at any point you can move this distribution as you need it to move yourself forward efficiently, effectively, and safely for your joints. Have fun crawling.